Last time I finished cleaning the compressor housing, if you remember this video, and last weekend I didn't have a chance to continue cleaning turbocharger parts as it was nice weather outside. I had some work to do in the yard, in the garden, but that's all taken care of. The only thing I did in the meanwhile, while I had some spare time, is I took some of these. They are brass wire brushes, and I used them on the VNT mechanism, which came out very shiny right now, almost like new, as you can see. And I also tried to clean up the mating surfaces on the center section to get rid of the rust that was on them. And now we're going to continue with cleaning the exhaust or turbine housing, which is still very dirty. So again, into the thinner, and this time I got some new gloves. And we're off. Make sure the thinner goes everywhere. Agitate the dirt so it is ready to come off. And rub it down. So, the same as with the compressor housing, I will get some clean solution and give them another clean. And I was thinking about applying some spray-on ceramic coating, like Rusty's or something along the line, and get it looking a bit better than this cast iron finish that's on it now. Will also help to reduce the heat in the engine bay, I suppose, but we'll just see what I'm gonna do about it, because I need to order it online. I don't know the price of the stuff, and I don't know where I'm going to get it. I haven't looked for it yet, but I suppose you could find it on eBay. Also, might be worth using a grinder and board the inside of the housing a little bit as far as you can go, because it's pretty rough inside. But I don't know if it really will have any benefits. I'm still in the process of finding necessary tools to do the porting. I will need them anyway to port my head. So I might give it a try on the turbine housing as well. We'll see later on what I'm going to do with it. Okay, that looks fairly good. You could use some emery cloth, I suppose it's called, and clean it up a little bit more till it's shiny and new again, but it'll suit up very quickly, so I don't know if it needs to, or if we need to do that. That's that. Also, with the brass wire brushes, I tried it on the housing, on the compressor housing. I don't know if you'll see this, but I did it in a spot you wouldn't notice once the turbo is installed, and it did produce some scratches. It shines a little bit more now, but it did produce scratches, so I'm not going to bother with using the brushes to start the polishing effort. I'm just going to use some sanding paper and a polishing wheel I got from doing my wheels a few years ago, and that should do it. Next up is our center section. I did not find any information whether or not it would need to get rebalanced if you would disassemble it, but I think I am going to take the risk just to show you guys what it looks like. So, in order to do this properly, I would need to mark the turbine wheel and the nut in position to the shaft, and I'm going to look to do this right now. So I found a punch, and I'm going to try to see if it, yep, that does it. And on the nut, yeah, it's barely visible, but visible nonetheless. And the shaft. It doesn't work so good on the shaft, and you might also want to pay attention with doing this because it will put some stress on the bearing, but we'll see. Yeah, I can see it on the shaft, and it all lines up pretty well. So I'm gonna try and disassemble it. And we'll need some other tools for this, so I'll be right back with you. So I taken this round spanner. This is a number 8. It fits on the nut. Yes. And I got this vise. I will clamp this one on the turbine shaft. Just going to look at what kind of thread. Yes, it's the other way around, so instead of counterclockwise to undo it, you should turn it clockwise. It shouldn't be really tight. We'll see what it does. Yep, it's coming. Okay. Lucky. So, undo the nut. and the compressor wheel should come off. Trying to get it off gently. There it is, our compressor wheel. I'm going to soak it in the solution. Next up is getting our shaft out. I think it doesn't want to move, so maybe, yeah, give it a small tap with a hammer, and there it goes. As you can see, there is a little seal on here, a rubber seal. And this, I suppose, I don't know for sure, but I think it's some sort of a heat shield. Oh, so okay, I was wrong. It's not a rubber seal. No, it's a metal seal. So it was just or is it a rubber seal as well? No, it's a metal seal. Let's see this. So I can go ahead and also put it in the cleaner, I suppose. Yep. I'm going to do this. Next up, there is a bearing inside. But I suppose it's being held into place with these screws, so, or that's just this plate. Okay, I am going to try and undo the screws. They are also Torx in size, number 25 perhaps as well. No, smaller. I'm gonna try the 20. And it's a size 20. So the 1 1/4 on the breaker bar into a size 20. And let's try to get it off. That's 1, 2, 3, and 4. That's the 4 screws. Try to get loose. Yeah, that's that. And off it comes. As you can see, this is the actual thrust bearing. There's also a little spacer inside. Also pay attention as these holes line up with the bolt holes. We're also going to clean this in the thinner. And just I also want to do this one, but I'm going to try and remove the seal without breaking it or damaging it. I got this. I'm gonna try it with this. There it is, our seal. Gently place it aside, and we can put in our compressor mounting plate. Inside the assembly There's also a little washer. There's a washer and our bearing and some sort of a check valve, I suppose. There it is. It just fell out. So our bearing and a little check valve, oil check valve that opens up probably when there's pressure supply to it or something like that. I don't see a spring, so it's and I guess that's about it. I don't see any other kind of seals or anything like it. Don't know if this will come off. No, it doesn't. So we could also go and clean this up. So that's so there. I'm trying to figure out how it actually works. So this is oil feed and return, I suppose, as you can see. So it goes in the feed line, comes out this valve, I suppose, into our bearing and exits through here, and our water cooling goes just around the actual housing of the bearing. Okay, put it in as well. And I'm off again. Number one, our compressor back plate. So like I said again, if you have some shop air available to you, or compressed air, you might want to give it a squirt and all of the dirt will just blow away. It's easier than doing it with this rag to get it really clean again. But this seems rather good again. There's also a little bearings or something in here. I just noticed it. Don't think you can take it out. It's probably pressed into place, I suppose. It's pretty tight. Yep, just leave it. Next up, I'm going to do the turbine shaft and wheel, because of course you wouldn't want it to get damaged in the process of cleaning your other parts. Looks fine to me. There is some wear on the shaft. I don't know if you can see this or not, but there is, though I don't know if it's wear, because it looks to me like it's machined in there, so I think it's just to let the oil pass. Over here and over here is probably where it's running against the bearing, and there is some minor scoring but no real scratches, so this seems to me like it's also just regular wear. put this one aside. Trying to find, yes, here it is, our compressor wheel. You might not be able to tell, but it looks a whole lot better than it did. And where is my marking? Ah, over here is my marking. And you can see it? Yeah, that's the mark I made. I'll try to show it on the shaft as well, but I don't really know. So you can see it? Yeah, I think so. What's next? The heat shield, which really had a lot of gunk on it, and I can't seem to get it off. Where is my pen? This is some really tough stuff. It'll probably need to soak a little while longer. It does come off when you do it like this. Yeah, just leave it in there for a little longer. Our center bearing. Just give it a little clean. There was only oil I could find, so nothing sticky, just some old oil. So I just had some other memory related issue. I cleared some memory on the SD card, and I'm gonna start again with the thrust bearing. Also, it was clean. There are no markings on it. It looked okay to me, so just give it a wipe and clean it, and it should be okay to go for another long period, I hope. As you can see, there is a little hole in the thrust bearing. It supplies oil to the spacer and the shaft that run through it as well. There appears to be a front and a back side. So, oh yeah, of course, because you need to supply it with oil. So face this to the center section. Pay attention to this when you're reassembling the turbocharger. That was the heat shield. Needs another soak. Trying to find some other parts. Oh, spacer. I can feel it. Yeah. Oh no, it's the little valve. Also, there didn't seem to be anything wrong with that valve, so we're going to reuse it as well. It's all clean again. The other stuff, meaning the back side of the center housing and the heat shield, will need some more work, as there are a lot of carbon on them. I'm going to take some manual wire brushes and try to clean them using those. This is what paint thinner does to your gloves. I'm going to try and search the wire brushes I got. There we go. There was a little one inside as well. I was trying to find this one, but I can't seem to find it. There is a fine iron wire brush and a brass wire brush. So from what I've learned, the brass wire brushes tend to produce less scratches, so we're going to use that one. And we'll see what it's like. We'll need some more prying to get everything off. It's the tough stuff that's really holding on right now. The big chunks, once they're gone, it'll loosen up better. Try not to scratch it too much. And put it back in. I'll need to change the glove as it's broken. I'm going to try and use the brush on the housing to see if it'll clear up. It splashes it around quite a bit with this brush. And wipe it. That's something you don't want to do. Drop stuff on the floor. Damn it. Luckily it's not damaged. Okay. Happy? In cleaning the center section, I'm going to put in some extra effort right away. I'll show you in a minute. I've got these handy cans of Win's brake and clutch cleaner, and I'm going to spray it down into every orifice I can find to make sure there is no debris in it anymore and to take out all of the filth. You want this to be clean as possible. Clean piece of paper. And give it a final wipe. As you can see, this is the supply hole for our thrust bearing. It lines up. Okay. I still have the heat shield in there, but I'm going to let it in for a little while longer, as it was rather tough to clean. So we have all of our major components all cleaned and ready to go. So we have the backing plate for the compressor housing, the center section of the turbocharger. As you can see, it's pretty clean again. I'm thinking of also using one of the rotating wire brushes to make it spotless. We have the truss bearing, the shaft bearing with all of the oil supply holes in it. Don't forget there is a front or a compressor side and a turbine side to it. We have the little valve that was in it in the center section, the compressor wheel, the turbine wheel and shaft assembly, the nut, shaft nut, and the 4 bolts that hold the compressor housing backplate in position. And I'm still missing the little spacer. Trying to find it in here. Oh, and this little washer that was in on top of the shaft bearing. There's my spacer. Or, yep, there it is, a little spacer. As you can see, it also has a little groove cut out in it to let the oil pass through it. I'm just going to try and clean up the plate one more time. The heat shield, I mean, and that'll be the end of this video. Next time I'll talk about reassembling and possibly might start with polishing the compressor housing. So see you guys next time. I hope you enjoyed this video, and yeah, see you next time.